Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Tuesday, July 26, 2022. I was originally planning to do this video in a few days later this week, and then this morning I just decided I need to jump on today and take advantage of the moment to be here, because this past weekend was the New Jersey Flosstube retreat that I organized. That was a long time in the making, given that we canceled both 2020 and 2021. I have already watched a couple of videos of folks that have posted their post-retreat video, and I just decided I'd put it on my so many things to do. Some of those I'll wait till the retreat's over kind of list, plus just daily week stuff. And I thought, Thursday, I'll get to it Thursday. And then, well, I just finished with one student. I have another one later today. There's only two for today. I do a lot of tutoring and one-on-one teaching during the summer. Two students I had today are Zoom ones, and I thought, you know what, let me see if I can do this video in between and just feel like I'm right there in the mix and not waiting for a couple more days. So this whole video will just be about the retreat. It's not going to be that long, but you already know how long it is, and we'll see how long I chatter on for. Just a little backstory, which I may have said just literally in my last video, but you can hear it again. And I discovered Flosstube in 2017, early 2017, and then a few months later, took the brave leap of making videos myself. And I've been a stitcher my whole life, since high school and through college, through everything, and with my interests growing and varying as the years have gone on. But I never really had a stitching community, certainly not an in-person stitching community. And even though I'd been on, Facebook and, internet things, I don't think I'd looked very hard to find any stitching community. And thanks to Flosstube, I started to feel like I had one. And it was, yes, I was making videos, and yes, I loved the comments and some of the back and forth communication. I loved going to watch other people's videos and some back and forth communication. And I started to feel like I had stitching friends out there. That fall of 2017, there was someone who had put together a retreat in Austin that they called a Flosstube retreat, and it was a variety of people that were there. Certainly some who made videos, but I don't think everyone made Flosstube videos. And right at the time that I'd heard about it, and then there was another retreat that was forming around at the same time, and the whole concept of a retreat was new to me. I started to wish I could be a part of those. Now, I logistically couldn't, I couldn't even figure out who was running something to even know to ask anything, but I could jump on a plane and fly off in a weekend and after just barely hearing about it and school and all that. But at that same time, I thought, well, if these things happen, this retreat thing happens, and I live near a large needlework store, if I can't go to the people, maybe the people could come to me. Kind of thinking that I knew that having a large needlework store would be a draw, and maybe I could do a retreat myself. And I'm an organized person. I know like that, those kind of skills, which different people in the world have different skills out there. Like I felt based on the things I've done at school and stuff, I could organize this. Is it a learning curve? Yeah. So I had the first one in May of 2018. I remember putting a post on this large Facebook group that I put a video out and I said, if there is interest, in effect, join this Facebook group. And there was just so much interest. And I remember putting, there's a survey or something on their poll, because I was trying to think, well, what would be the best time of year to get people available? And it hovered down. I ended up doing it a weekend in May. Now I'm a teacher. That was a stupid decision to try and do something for a weekend in May. And before that weekend was even over, and I had folks saying, you're doing this next year, aren't you, Arlene? I'll see you next year. One immediate decision in my mind is that it had to be during the summer for my teaching life, that it needed to be a summer thing. So summer 2019 had a second one. It was at a different hotel, but one that I felt that really fit our needs much better. Planned, registered, all things, well, not everything ready to go, but obviously canceled 2020. Last year, 2021, I had registered. I'd planned it very cautiously. And I know I spoke about this in a video a long time ago, how I felt like I needed to cancel out of concerns for financial reasons. But 2022 was on. So that just gives a little bit of the background. I called it the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat because I had just loved this community that I had found. For me, it wasn't just the people who made Flosstubes videos. It was frankly anyone who knew about them, whether they watched, whether they commented, whether they made videos. But I also know that some people don't know what Flosstube is, but maybe when they hear about this retreat, they do a quick little Google and they find some videos, and all of a sudden they discover this wonderful community we have here. So the whole issue of the name is an interesting one because Flosstube has exploded in the 4 years since I did this. I mean, there were a number of Flosstubers then. There's way many more with a huge following of just, the number of people who watch videos in general and the number of people who make them. And I wonder whether calling it something different. Actually, I have a survey out to my attendees trying to gather all kinds of pieces of information. And one of them is, what do you think of the name? Should it be changed? And I'll eventually report back to you on decisions like that. But the rest, I'm going to focus on this past weekend, this video, some of the pieces that have led up to it. It has been something that is really important, very important and all-encompassing in my life, especially the last few weeks, but in a good way. It was so wonderful to have this project to focus on that I knew was going to mean so much to so many people, and I think it did. So let's start out here. I designed a logo, for lack of better words. This is different than the logo from the last couple, a different look to it from the last couple of years, which is appropriate. We had these 2 years where doesn't matter. This is what I came up with for this year. It is a design that very well could, I almost was going to stitch it as a monochrome, and I just decided to bring in some color to it. It sat on I just finished it flat, sit on a little thing like this. And every attendee got a copy of the pattern. I saw at least one, if not two, people working on it at the retreat. If it was your kind of thing, you had the ability to work on it right there. So I want to go through, so the general schedule. The official opening of the retreat was Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Timed, basically the hotel check-in. That was a little chaotic. There were some people that came in the night before just for travel purposes, but the stitching room officially opened at 3 p.m. So when the room opened, everyone got a bag, and I want to walk you through what's in there because putting together these bags was important to me for a personal connection. I said this to so many people. I wanted this to be a homey retreat. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way everyone who attended felt about it, but that's how I wanted to feel about it. There was about 100 people, a few no-shows in the last, but it's easy enough to say about 100 people. My original limit was 110 and kept going up and down. Pause. Moral of any story is if you are trying to do something and it appears to be full, or, ask if there's a wait list. Get yourself on a wait list. I ended up going through just about everybody on my wait list in the last couple of months as people were canceling. So I just put that plug out there. Always check to see if there's a wait list if you are told anything, stitch related or not, is full. Okay, back to my homey retreat. So I wanted the things that were important to me, the little details that are important to me, I wanted to make this a part of it. And so one of them was, so everyone got a bag that you can see also features the logo. And I loved that I saw, lots of people were using the bag during the weekend. I hope it gets good. It's a good quality bag. It's good. I'm hoping it'll get a lot of use after the retreat. The tags on here, not only to find your bag at the beginning, but it's also because there's 100 people that have the same bag in there. And so having a name on it is always an easy thing or helpful thing. So in the bags, what am I going to start with? Well, obviously a name tag. A couple of people pointed out that they appreciated the little detail. Can you see I used a cross-stitch font? Because that's what seemed appropriate. And I've done this. I did this at the other retreats also, but I love the people who noticed it. sometimes it's the little details that you put into something that maybe people don't realize, but you know you've done something good with it. That was one of them. So yes, name tag was in here. And everyone got so this bag I'm holding up right now is just one of the extras because my bag was filled with all kinds of stuff. So I'm pretty sure everything in here is something that I don't think I've missed anything, but we'll see if I've got that. Everyone got a copy of the attendee list, just so you would know who was here. I think that was just a really helpful piece. While there is a Facebook group for attendees only, not everyone is on Facebook. And so a number of people said how much they appreciated having this piece of paper. And on the back here, cover over this stuff, was basic information, stitching room hours, important times for events. I'll get to that in a moment. Needleworkers Delight is the local store that I'm referring to. It was about 10 minutes away from the hotel, so just wanted to get their hours on there. We were at the Hampton Inn in Woodbridge, New Jersey. Probably should have led with that. Woodbridge, New Jersey being very much central New Jersey. It was one thing that made it, not one thing, many things made it a good place for us to have this retreat. It's a small hotel. It's not a giant hotel that has multiple events going on at the same time. The hotel we were at the first year, one night was a local high school's prom. The other night there were a couple of weddings going on because it had a lot of spaces. This one basically has one event space. We were it. It's a hotel that gives a free breakfast. It has, it doesn't have its own restaurant, which means I'm not tied into purchasing their food, which is what happens at a lot of hotels. But there are food options right there. And I'm not just talking about, there were 2 sit-down restaurants, but there was a McDonald's. Walk just around there, there's a Dunkin' Donuts. There is a Walmart in the connecting parking lot, huge to service anything you want in terms of whether it be grocery items or just other things. And there was also a couple of other, like a Chipotle and a few other food options. There was even a dollar store, all within basically the parking lot area. So that is so helpful for folks who didn't drive, or those who did drive and were very happy to not go anywhere, driving-wise, while they were there. So I've already got myself off track. That's the hotel we were at. It was a great place for us for this kind of event. As I said before, everyone got a copy of the pattern if they so chose. Needleworkers Delight gave me a few things for the bags, including a flyer about them. And all attendees got a discount, 15% discount when they went to the store, as well as some other little goodies. But the Needleworkers guys gave me for the bags. And this is on my, well, other videos, again, there's only 2 have been watched so far. People are talking about the bags, and you could see, it's been great to see how much they liked the things. There's some of these that have a little bit more of a background story, so you'll get that information from me. This came from Needleworkers, a piece of Aida and some banding, just to maybe try something you've never thought of before, or do something with a banding that you'd never thought of banding before. I also, in addition to the logo on the bag, I had mugs made. And again, with the logo, these were good quality mugs. I found a company a few years ago, before any stitching retreats, that does this kind of work, and I'm really pleased with the quality and the company and the philosophy and all of that. And they also have like an outlet page, so to speak, where it's possible to get, if you don't need thousands of something, it's possible to get an item that maybe would have been out of your budget, but it's so much cheaper because they're just trying to get rid of the last, few hundred that they have. So I really lucked out in finding good quality things on that outlet page this year. A lot of the things that are in here that I'm about to show you involve being handmade. And again, this is part of that like homey feel. There were a number of people, attendees, who so kindly brought stuff to share. My fear is everyone feels like they have to bring something for everybody. No, but there were a few people who very kindly had brought something. And so there was wax. I'm missing a word there. Wax. There were thread cards. There were other little things that had been shared. And I don't think I have all of those up here I'm not sure what I have in the bag. Well, let me start with this stuff. So my stitching group, which are all women that I did not know before 2018. I am so grateful for this community in so many ways, but I put on that retreat, had a little bit of help from the couple people that I knew. After that retreat, some locals, relatively locals, had started getting together, and I forget all the pieces of how we all sort of found each other. When I say locals, we're talking about some people who even live some distance away, and it just became this wonderful community group. And it was them that said, Arlene, we want to help you put on a retreat in terms of just needing helpers. The perfect example, when I get through the schedule, Friday night we had a pizza party, and I'm up at the podium trying to describe, all right, here's how we're going to line up for the pizza. But I couldn't be doing that unless there were also people over there organizing the pizza. It's even down to the little details like that. So we have some incredibly talented, crafty people in our group, as most stitchers are. And this is what we came up with for this year. We start with, everyone got a project bag. These are always good project bags to use. And thanks to the cricketers of the world, a clear memory of where you got this project bag from. In the bag were a number of items, a couple of donations. I had been writing to thread and fabric companies looking for donations, particularly for the raffle, which I'll get to, but also for the bags. Kreinik very generously gave us these packages, and everyone got, well, I should open it up, but there's in there a metallic, it's probably a number 4 braid, which gets used for cross stitch, and if you've never used it before, you give it a try. But it's not only the Kreinik metallic, it's also their silk. Everyone got, I should just open this out. Everyone got not only an actual spool of Kreinik metallic, but an actual skein of Kreinik's silk moire. And they came attached to the full color card. So you can see, all the colors and all the information. And this is what was in this pack, or this pack. And then the same with their silk moire. I don't think their silks are as well known, and they should be. They're very nice silks. And so again, the full color card and a skein. So very generous of them to give this for everybody. Weeks Dye Works gave 2 skeins for everybody. Everyone got Aqua and Santa Cruz. I did do something a little fun. Let me pause and say it now. So on Friday night, did some door prizes, and one of the things I did, including some other things, is that I had gone through the bags before I put name tags in, or names on them, and I did a little substitution. And so there were 5 people. Instead of having, I think it was this guy, they had aqua and a yellow. Goldenrod, I think is what it was. And so if you found a yellow Weeks in your bag, you got a prize. So it's just a fun, I didn't even know who would be getting them. And the prize involves a raffle. I'll come back to that in a second. So that was just a fun substitution that I did. What else do I want to, everyone got 3 free raffle tickets. You could purchase more. It was a huge fundraiser, which did amazing. I'll get to that in a moment. I could already see this video is going to go longer than I thought it would. But it is important to me that everyone gets a chance to participate, even without love donations, want donations. So everyone got 3 free raffle tickets. So if you had the yellow skein, you got another 3 free raffle tickets. I'm doing these in a particular order here. So everyone got a needle minder. These came out so amazingly beautiful. I worked with Shelby at Scarlet Sky Designs. Etsy store, or is it a separate website? I'll link it below. I mean, needle minders isn't their main thing. They do wood stuff, a lot of wood, finishing wood options. But I'd met her at Nashville, her and her husband at Nashville, and as a little they handed me a business card with a wooden needle minder. And it was because of that I was in touch with her. And I said, would this be something you would do? Make 100 of these. And she did a phenomenal job. Like, I was just expecting a straight square. Do you see how she got like the edges? And it's just phenomenal. So to me, the idea of a souvenir of this kind for a retreat is important. And oh no, never mind. Come back to that souvenir thought in a moment. I gave everybody a Works by ABC pen. This is the pens I showed you when I was sharing about Nashville. I hand these out, and I purposely ordered enough to be able to have them in the retreat bags. They're a puzzle pen. So you're trying to get the little beads to one end or the other. A couple weeks ago, got together with 3 other friends. We'd been teachers together a long time ago. We get together once a year in the summer. We have a great time. They're not stitchers. They're aware of that I have a business and I've been trying to do this and love stitching. I stitched when we shared a house way back when. But I brought pens for them because I've been bringing pens for anyone that I know. And I'm trying to talk about what Nashville was, all that. And the 3 of them are just doing this the whole time. And I just loved it. I loved it. Everyone got some pens, black, blue, maybe black and blue, and a letter opener. Kind of one of these last minute things that one member of my stitch group said, we have these, I'm trying to get rid of them. I have a whole bunch of them. Why not? People appreciate pens. People appreciate things like this. So for those who were wondering, is there some sort of stitching significance to a letter opener? No. It's just someone who had something that they donated and it sort of was perfectly fine and potentially very useful to a lot of people. Other things, one of the members of my stitch group, Kathy, made these, and I should have had this already opened. She made charms. She wrote on here, it started in New Jersey, it was finished in New Jersey. I know there are many people who do smalls, I suppose frame things as well, but smalls in particular where they like to attach the charm of the year that they did it, or maybe they've never thought about this before and now they're thinking what a cool idea that is. So Kathy wanted to acknowledge the opportunity if you wanted to sort of market that you had started or finished in New Jersey. That's the state of New Jersey she put on these little discs. Where to go? Dee in my group had also given finishing material, this like chenille and a little star. Lori in my group, the first year, 2018, I didn't know who she was. She was a woman with a bag of these. And I know at the time, because I didn't do finishing like that I would need like things like this. And I was like, okay, maybe some people can use it. And then people, oh, this is so cool. And so I had a bunch of these, some of the leftovers, I think 3 or 4 sitting somewhere. And in this past year, I saw someone who had used one of those from 2018. I was like, how perfect is that? So when this year's Just Cross Stitch Christmas ornament issue comes out, which I imagine is in the next couple of months, my ornament in there was finished using some of the chenille that came from Lori from the retreat from 2018. So when Dee was bringing around or put in bags, whatever, these chenilles, I've already got a few set aside for some finishing ideas. So if you're someone who is like me and has not dipped too far into the finishing world, it's just not my interest, but it's also, I don't have too many things that I do as smalls. Keep listening to all the ideas that are out there. I've learned about cording. Oh, where'd the thing go? I made cording for myself and did not feel like I had to buy the sort of pre-made cord stuff that you can find. It's made for draperies and things. Vanna Pfeiffer has a great tutorial on how to make this stuff. And like I said, I've now included chenille as a edging thing as well. Learn new things all the time. And then so another member of my stitching group, Barbara, everyone is so incredibly talented. She spearheaded the plans and basically did most of the work for these handmade things. She had project labels, if you are the kind of person who, wherever you have it, particularly like on the back of a frame piece so that you have the information there. We put together these little notebooks, which, what a clever idea. The little pen, a clip holds it right there for you. And I saw a number of people using these little notebooks throughout the weekend, just writing down, oh my gosh, I love that pattern, or names or contact information. Everybody got a floss holder, and there were different images on there. Everyone got a scissor fob. Now, this is what I was thinking before. I've talked before in videos about the idea of a souvenir scissors from every stitching event that I've been to since the first retreat. And this time, for this retreat, it sort of came together for me so easily. I didn't even need to think too hard about it. So I have here, this was the prototype. I should actually confirm that it's still the same. Barbara had given me a few months back, what do you think of these? And like, I think amazing things of these for all the items she was making. And I think she ended up doing, yeah, I don't think it changed from the prototype. And then the scissors came from one of the thread companies had sent a lot of scissors. Some of them were on the raffle table, a few I used as door prizes, and a few I offered to some folks as a flat out, give me a donation that'll go toward the whole raffle thing. And so this was one of those pairs that I decided I'm putting some money in the donation envelope and keeping this as my pair of scissors for my souvenir for this retreat. So I was actually using my scissors with the scissor fob at the retreat. And then the last amazing thing that came from Barbara's hands, these, and what's written on the back is ORT container and ORT support. And I know a few people were asking about this ORT support thing, and then you explain it, and they're like, that's really clever. So these are, and these were all different. Barbara has amazing, well, lots of stitchers have amazing collections of all kinds of supplies. So she was just using up fabric that she had. These are snap trays. So when you snap it like this, you have this to keep your ORTs in as your little pieces of thread that you want to just kind of collect in one place and then throw out in the end, or put in a container, some people do. And love this. What has been observed in the past is, because it's made out of fabric, it's kind of lightweight. But if you put this in, and this I think is just a washer, like a washer. So there's a little, it's not a, I think it's a magnet. So there's a little weight to it, but you put it in there and then this doesn't slide anywhere. So what a clever idea to put those two pieces together. So everything that was handmade by folks is so appreciated. And like I said, I think these were all the things that have been collected to be put in the bags ahead of time. But again, some people were handing out stuff. And then the last thing to share with you that was in the bag was an idea I had just a couple weeks ago as I was thinking about something, and I'm so glad I made it happen. I was going to say last year. Last time, which was 3 years ago, at the 2019 retreat, in a somewhat last-minute bite at the dollar store the day before, there was a little plastic clapper. And so when you had a finish, you could go, it was sat on the podium, you could go up to the podium and, wave it, you get clapping, and people would react, round of applause, whatever. And I was thinking about that this time. I did not have that clapper in my possession. I was in the dollar store. I'm like, I wonder if I could get one, and I couldn't find one. And then I thought, well, I wonder if I could, what would it take to order one? And it turns out you really can't buy one of them. You can only buy them in sets because they're cheap plastic things. And I started poking around, thinking about the cost, and like, well, I think this is a fun idea, so I'm just going to hope it's going to be worth it and people will enjoy it. So everybody got a clapper in their bags, and it says, have a finish, someone at your table have a finish, or someone in the room, give a round of applause. And so when you do this, you get some applause. And it worked just like I wanted it to. People got it. And so if you're sitting at a table and you had a finish, and you might have just sort of announced your table, look, it's finished, or they knew it was happening. Like that, the people near you would pick these up, and then other people in the room would pick them up. And it was so much fun how they got used exactly as I wanted. I was hoping they wouldn't just stay in the bag and people would say what a silly party favorite was. They got used, and I loved it. I loved it. Okay, so I'm gonna put all this stuff back. the importance of having the little things, the thread stuff, the donation stuff, the handmade things, the genuine, this is something that I use and I'm hoping maybe other people would like it as well. To me, it's a little piece that I care a lot about. It wasn't just giving a bag, it was giving things in the bag that people could say, wow, that's great. And many of the things in here got used over the weekend. I definitely saw the scissor fobs on people's scissors, and the snap trays were out and other things as well. All right, look at my notes. So we're still on Thursday here. So most people arrived on Thursday, but I also knew, real life and work schedules. So there was no event Thursday night because I didn't want anyone who couldn't arrive until Friday to feel like they missed anything. And I want to say there was 20 or so bags, which is to say about 20% of the people weren't there by on Thursday night, which is fine. So more people filtered in Friday morning. There was no formal events. I had done some announcements, which I wish I'd done some announcements sort of spontaneously on Friday morning. But the first real planned event was going to be on Friday night. I had some door prizes, including the ones, the pen, sorry. In addition to the weeks, you win an extra raffle tickets if you had a goldenrod weeks. I also put red pens in 5 bags. So if you found a red pen, you also won 3 raffle tickets, which was just fun. I also did some other door prizes. I had gotten gift cards. There were 2 sit-down restaurants nearby, and they each donated a gift card. Needleworkers Delight donated gift cards. Like I said, I did the scissors. And door prizes, I just had a numerical list, a list that I put numbers on. I had one of my friends just doing random number generator, and it was a great way to give out door prizes without having to sort of read off all the numbers and taking the time to figure it out. So that was a lot of fun. I had provided a pizza party. That was the only food I was able to provide, which worked out well. I had a new place I got pizza from, which was really good, and some salad, cookies. We did not have a separate space to eat. You had to be very respectful of all the beautiful things in the room. There were some people that filtered out into the hall where the breakfast area, which isn't being used at 6 p.m, we all made do and it was fine. And the rest of Friday night was just, I was going to say it was just stitching and hanging out, whatever. Some people had gone to the store during the day. Some people just explored other places. It was really, when I first heard about stitching retreats, those were going on in the Flosstube community, hearing about it through the Flosstube community in 2017, I remember thinking, I don't get it. Like, I get going somewhere and taking a class and learning things, and I had the wonderful opportunity to do that twice. Nothing every year kind of thing. So I got the idea of going somewhere to learn something, but the idea to sit in a room and just stitch, I didn't get that. And then I learned to understand how amazing that could be as well. I love learning opportunities, but an opportunity to get to know some new folks, see some old friends, interact in different ways has become a wonderful thing for me. And so if you are like how I was a few years ago, I'm hoping you can watch some of the videos of some of the people who were there and hear what it was like to just be there and be chatting and meeting people and walking around and seeing the beautiful stitching, and that alone became such a valuable experience the first time I experienced it, and certainly I have a greater understanding of it now. One of my Stitch group members, Lori, who is Once Upon a Stitch here on Flosstube, so you could go watch her videos where she has talked about this idea of a challenge of 6 and 6. For her and for many people, doing 6 starts in 6 hours. And she had this idea. We did it. Not me personally, but members of my Stitch group had done it on Zoom for back in April or so for 3 hours on a Friday and 3 hours on a Saturday. And so to bring it a part of the retreat, no requirements, no contest, no prizes. It's just, hey, if you want to do this, someone's going to be calling out time for you. So that got started at about 8, 9, and 10 on Friday night. There was like 5 minutes in between, so it wasn't precisely that. And all I was doing was I was on the microphone, which unfortunately wasn't that loud. the hotel's what they gave me. Just sort of saying, we're beginning, and I'd give them the 30-minute warning and then a 5-minute warning, and that was the end. And it was, for your own satisfaction. It was, some people particularly brought 6 whips, and they wanted to work on one an hour to see how much they could do in 1 hour. It really was whatever you wanted it to be. There were variations, someone who was going to work on the same project but start 6 different colors. All 3 new starts and 3 whips, anything, completely open. And for those who wanted to participate in it, I was just calling out time. And then we got to the last time, and it had been already commented to me saying, our start for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. might be a little too early for some people. So I actually offered my timing services at 9, 10, 11, and 12, or, off track from there because of the break, so that people could do 9, 10, 11, or they could do 10, 11, and 12. We did that Saturday morning because Saturday evening there were other events planned. I don't know, I never even counted how many people participated, but I think those who did had fun, that it was there for them. It'd be fun to come up with some other events, simple, easy, nothing too complicated, not turning it into a contest, or just having fun with something. So that's also on my survey to attendees of any ideas. Let's see what we come up with. Saturday night did 2 things. We had a smalls exchange for those who wanted to participate. They stitched a small, wrapped it up. We had them all sitting on a table, picked numbers, and you went up and chose whatever you wanted. And then had some little time afterwards to go and find in the room who stitched the one you received, and who received yours. And that's just another nice way to make a good connection. If I'm remembering correctly, there were 2 people, and I don't think they knew each other ahead of time, but it just so happened that they each picked each other's, which was fun and great. I wrote it down. I think it was 28 people 27, 28 people. So, a little less than 1/3. It's for those somewhere between 1/4 and 1/3. It's for people who enjoy it. There's no requirement. So I'm glad for those who chose to participate that they enjoyed it. And others of us just enjoyed seeing the beautiful things that came from it. And after that, came the raffle. We had, I counted 60, it was either 62 or 64 items to give away from this raffle, which was wonderful. Basically everything donations, some of it, things people paid, some certainly donations from fabric and thread companies, but also a lot of things that were handmade. I should have taught the room set up. Walked in, there were tables, round tables. We had all the raffle things. We had a brag table for people to bring anything they just wanted to share. This is a project I'm proud of, or something I enjoyed stitching. I had my Works by ABC stuff there. I'll talk about that in a moment. And then we had a huge, of epic proportion size, freebie table. Bring anything you want, take anything you want. It kept getting spread out in terms of, it started out really nicely organized, all the magazines here and all the patterns here, whatever. It's reality. I know people found all kinds of goodies there. And lots of us have built up things from the past 3 years. So it was nice to be able to bring it somewhere and hope that somebody else would treasure it now that you were done with it, or maybe never really treasured it to begin with. So that was a huge area that was used for, and I heard people finding all kinds of great stuff. So the raffle prizes, all the money was being raised for SAVE, S-A-V-E, which is a local no-kill animal shelter. Local to me, it's just a wonderful place to support. Only cats and dogs there. Just supporting animal shelters is something important to me. I've never had my own pet, but I grew up with a house of dogs, with a dog, and I know my parents supported their local animal shelter, and that's where this came about a few years ago, and it was certainly the charity I wanted to support again. So I haven't been there yet to drop it off, but when I do, I'll be dropping off a check for $2,365. If you were at the retreat and I announced it, there was even some money given to me after that announcement, which is wonderful. That's why the number is different. And that beats the record of how much we raised last time, which was a goal of mine, So I appreciate all the generosity, all the folks that bought the raffle tickets, that wanted to be a part, because sure, winning some great prizes, but also is knowing that the money was going to a good cause. So that was Saturday night, and there was just stitching and chatting and friendship going on. Sunday, there was nothing planned. I know reality of some people had to take off early. A number of people were there. I mean, I didn't do numbers, but quite a number of people there throughout the morning, and it started to filter out in the early afternoon. But we had the room until 6 in the whatever, and there weren't many people left by the end of that time, and we were all cleaning up and everything at that point. So people left when they needed to. Reality, get back to reality. I'll tell you, for me, it's been really hard. I stayed at the hotel Sunday night. I had a few friends, some people that I knew were going to stay. I was like, why not? So stayed, had a little breakfast together. I packed up the rest of my stuff, got on the car. This is only about 40 minutes away, so it wasn't anything to me. But I'll tell you, yesterday I was having a hard time. I had plenty of things to do. I had plenty of unpacking and organizing to do. I had plenty of non-stitching retreat related things to do, and I could barely do anything. I'm struggling today, and I'm sure lots of other people are. But like I said, this decision to get this fit in between my students today, and I'm looking at the time, but I'm okay. My stitching. Oh, well, Works by ABC. I had a trunk show there. Some people purchased some patterns, which I appreciated so much. And we all know whenever you see something in person, you get such a different vibe from it, which is great that I was able to just share some things. Some people said, oh, I've seen it on your website before, but wow, does it look different and nice when I see it in person. I also, as a special treat for the retreat, had one of my Needlework Expo releases available early just for retreat attendees. So Needlework Expo is coming up at the end of August. I will be making a video probably maybe in about 2-3 weeks, sharing with you the releases that I have and talking about that. But I just thought this would be a fun little thing. It was a project I had done and ready to go, and I thought it might be appealing, and it was. So one of my Needlework Expo releases, and I'll talk more about this in a few weeks, is stained glass flowers. And it is stitched all in etoile, which we all know. I know you're looking at this now and saying, really? Is that sparkle? Oh, maybe the blue is the one you can see the sparkle. I love the look of this idea. Simple, almost cartoonish looking flowers, blocks of color. And as I was stitching it, some friends were really getting into it and saying, well, are you going to do more of them? And there's a lot of flowers I like. So the plan is that this is going to be a series of 3. So these 3, and then another 3, and then a final 3. And so I've plotted out the flowers or some options because this is stitched all in DMC Etoile, and Etoile is limited in its color range. So there's been, good creative brainstorming going on in my mind, and we'll see how that goes. But because when I was working on these a couple months ago, I had brought, I don't even remember whichever one I was working on at the time, to Needlefest, which was that one day, some people were there 2 days, event in May, which I guess I must have talked about on the video, but it was the best retreat stitching ever. I'd had whatever, let's just say it was this one, I had some basic, I had the border done, I had some basic, but it was all fill-in. And I don't know if you can see, the background is stitched using one strand in a tent stitch of the white etoile. And so again, I know it isn't coming across, but in person, it just adds that much more to the stained glass look that I was going for. So even though I have other stitching that I need to do, other releases that are going to come before Nashville of next year, I had to get myself in a good enough place that I could be working on one of these during the retreat for all the stitching that I accomplished. I was a little busy, but I was so glad to have this project to the extent that I did work on it. So here's a sneak peek of the second set of flowers with a we'll see what happens kind of thing. So I just had like the one leg of the cross stitch border of one round. So just doing border easy because it was already counted. I pre-counted it. I'd created this flower, so I wanted to do some fill in there. The only real looking at the chart I had to do was Sunday night when a few of us were just sitting around and stitching, and it was really the only time I did any real stitching this weekend. And that's when I actually was looking at the pattern to work on this leaf. Now, as of this moment, I was going for a daisy. However, fully knowing that to do a daisy, I would be using the white etoile, and I wasn't sure what I would think of that in terms of the pop of color that the colors give me. And so I wanted to get the flower, the black outline of the flower. What is this? I got a little, cut that in a minute. The black outline of the flower, so I could fill in a couple of the petals with the 2 strands regular cross of white. And then you could see I also did that little corner, the filling in that background. If you can see, it's only 10 stitch. And so I can make the decision that I'm not happy with, for lack of better words, the lack of contrast. But there has always been a plan B, that if I didn't like this, it was going to become a Black-Eyed Susan. Like a Black-Eyed Susan is another one of my planned 9, but this looks close enough to being about Black-Eyed. If I ended up using this as a daisy, I can still redesign something that will look slightly different to be a Black-Eyed Susan. So asked some opinions, we all agreed. Before I rip this all out, the little pieces of color out and officially make it a Black-Eyed Susan, I did decide I wanted to try one other idea. Etoile also comes in ecru. And it is really hard for both the white and the ecru to know what that looks like as stitches until you actually stitch it. So I'll pull out these white petals, I'll put in a couple petals of this, see if I can get a contrast, see if this is something that would work for me to keep it as a daisy, or else it'll change to a Black-Eyed Susan. And like I said, now it was great to have a little stitching I'd done to have this with me, but it is going to get put aside because I have other things that I need one more thing I need to finish for Expo. Already have some plans for some fall things and going forward from there. So I'm looking at my list, and I think I've covered everything that I can think of right now related to the retreat, and now that I'm just about done. Of course, this has gone way longer than I thought it would, but I am glad I sat down and did this today while I'm still like fully in it. I've got a huge mess of stuff that needs cleaning up and reorganizing and all kinds of stuff, and I realized this more. It's like I couldn't really do that until this video becomes the final piece of the retreat for me. So the last thing I need to say is that because lots of people were posting on, particularly because lots of people were posting on social media, and there were a lot of stitchers that were hearing about it perhaps for the first time because of some posts, I'd been getting, like even over the weekend, I got a couple of emails. I mean, they must have gone to one of my videos. They found the email address that I had set up specifically for this retreat. And I know you're busy this weekend, but when's your retreat next year? And versions of that. How can I get on the wait list? So first couple of emails I wasn't going to deal with, and then I got 2 messages on Instagram, and I'm like, wait a second, I need a way to respond to this. So I have set up a Google form. It will link it below. I have 0 details are available, nothing other to say that doing a retreat will happen in the summer because of my teaching life. There are 0 details at this time. But if you are interested, you give me your name and your email address. When there are details, I will just send an email to anyone that I've gotten email addresses from that form. So there's a very clear thing. If you're interested, here's how you can find out information in the future, because there's nothing to share right now. And let me just say, if you were attending, if you were there this weekend, you do not need to fill out that Google form. Everyone who's attended in the past will automatically get that information whenever I get that information decided and together and so on. So it's really only if you had not attended this year, or if you attended in the past and you weren't there this year, fill out the form, which I'll link below. Quick name and email address, and you won't hear from me until a few months from now. So it's time to come down from the high of the retreat, although I've been dealing with that in the last 24 hours anyway. I hope this gave a little big overview of some of the pieces and hearing some of the background. It was is such an important part of my life is in these last few months, the last few weeks, wanting to bring something to the stitching community, wanting to offer what I can offer to the stitching community, to bring people together and to do it in a way that I'm proud of the things that I gave, both the physical things that I gave and the time and the effort that I gave. This is just me. It's not a business running. There's retreats that are run by businesses, and they are wonderful. This is just me coming as an individual person. I may be a designer, but I'm not doing this from that direction. So I loved what I was able to do and to give, and I know plenty of people said how much they appreciate it, and I'm just going to count on the fact that it is very much appreciated in the community. So, again, way longer than I thought. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the likes and for the comments and for spreading the word. It is because of this community that I am the stitcher I am today, and the whole designing, everything. Thank you. Until next time, bye.